All right, I'm going to do a talking through, it's kind of talking through scenarios and kind of my thoughts on some of those scenarios, not providing a specific, this is the course of action, because that may or may not have been decided, but I'm going to talk through my thinking through a scenario moving belongings internationally. That includes me, but I'm going to phrase it as moving belongings internationally. And some of the scenario ideas for life after the move. So like once I move, what do I do? This is not meant to be an exhaustive discussion, just talking through some of the things that currently come to mind for a moving internationally scenario. So if I move internationally, like what might that entail? And what might that mean like at the time of move, but then also life after the move? And so previously I lived in South Africa from January to June 2012 on a 6-month student visa. So some of the stuff that comes to mind here is like super like I need to transfer this account, right? Like, because when I lived in South Africa, I had a different phone company. So I had different phone like plans. I had different electricity provider, how we got electricity was. So there's like straight up like different, living in a different country can mean really like basic changes that can be really easy to forget. So this is talking through some of that stuff, or some of the stuff that I'm like, this is so bizarre that if it happens, I just don't quite know what to do with it. So this is what my thoughts are on it right now. So let's go through the first scenario. So that's moving belongings internationally. That includes me. This is like if I move in with my soulmate and or soulmates internationally, I have belongings to move. So let's start with critters. Are any of the critters coming with us? If they're coming with us, how do we move them? Does like Shane or Andre come in with like a bunch of little cages and they put the cages out and they go ding 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 ding, come on Spa baby and family, and all of the squirrels just run really like into the cages, and they've already done the paperwork to take them internationally and like wherever we're going, like that kind of thing? Or like do they stay, or do they wait till nighttime and like I don't know, put like little houses and trees and then take the house as like a cubby transportation? Like I don't, and like would 2 trucks come to move stuff, like a truck for my belongings and a truck for the critters? I don't know how that would work. A critter okayed vehicle, I don't know. But that, right, if the critters are moving, how they actually move, or just put out a bunch of food and be like, come on now, and make sure to communicate to the squirrels like we're moving, or the birds, or whatever. Yeah. Okay, up next, parents and family. So I have mentioned, I think, was it 2022 that I brought up the like $1 million check idea? How do we reimburse my parents for my time here? Maybe they don't want to be reimbursed, right? So even though we have this great idea of like make them a $1 million bill, it's like $1 million check from each of my soulmate and or soulmates that come to move me. But maybe my parents don't want it. Maybe my helping out around the house and helping with the yard and like providing moral support for them while I'm here and stuff like that. Maybe they don't want to be reimbursed. That's an option too. Do my parents get to help me move? Then what about the rest of my family? Do I text them when I'm moving? Like, how do I keep them in the loop? Do I like move and just stay in tune with my parents and be like, they'll be like, we'll tell the family, and be like, well, I have a moving playlist on YouTube I can share with you guys too, like that kind of stuff. What does that actually look like? Loading up my car. So do the soulmates own large vehicle that we can just load up with my stuff and then drive off, or another, or the same vehicle that we can load up with the critters? Are we renting a U-Haul? Are we freighting it back? How are we sending the stuff? And then my car, if we take my car, which maybe we won't, maybe my parents want it or something, I don't know. My 2010 silver Toyota Corolla Lepton. So if we take my car, then how does it get to where we're going? Are we going to barge it? Do we have a big airplane, like a freight plane, or a private plane where the car can fit on the plane? That kind of stuff. And does that include, in the loading up part, are we taking my exercise equipment? Do my parents want my exercise equipment? Are we taking that too? Is there space for that on a private plane? Or is it going to be freighted? Or are we taking a private plane? Are we taking commercial plane? But yeah, but the transportation is kind of an independent thing, because if the stuff is on, possibly, unless we're on the same plane as this stuff, which would be kind of cool. Like if there's 2 layers to a private plane and we're like on the passenger deck, and then we can walk downstairs and there's like my car on like strapped down on the bottom. That'd be really wild from my life experience. Okay, so, and then if my parents decide to keep my car, there might be a tail end of like paperwork. How do I transition ownership to them? Kind of thing. Up next, YouTube videos. So filming YouTube videos as I go, or my husband's filming video, or my husband, soulmates. I'm gonna use the term soulmates. It's less triggering for me in talking about this. So soulmates. So like, do they take videos? Do my parents take videos? And then uploading them. Maybe upload 1 or 2 during the move if there's time. If there's time on the airplane and means on the airplane, we might not have Wi-Fi on the airplane. I don't know. Also, if we're moving and we're moving to a place like Scotland and the travel time is like, 10 to 16 hours or something, it might be useful to take a shower before I leave. Okay, so what about food? What about food while we're loading up and moving from here, and food on the airplane? Yeah, do my soulmates bring stuff? Do we make stuff? Do we what? What's open at that time of day or night or whatever when we're moving? Or do we get, if we're flying commercial, do we get food on the airplane, or do we need to bring snacks? Up next, library items. I currently have movies checked out from the library. What do I do with those? If I have library items that we're going to need to load up, we're also going to need to return them to the library. Can I hand them to my parents and my parents return them? How does that work? Up next, Yelp review templates during the flight is applicable. So if I'm concerned, or my soulmates are concerned about what to do on the flight, and we don't have Wi-Fi, or we do have Wi-Fi, there's still places from my Scotland July 2019 trip that for whatever reason I cannot, with the information I have currently accessible / available, I'm not going to be able to finish 100% of the places I went on my July 2019 Scotland Heritage travel trip based on what I currently have available. So we could flesh that out, right? I could start writing that stuff and possibly publish them, or write them and then go in, once they're written, publish them later in the order I wrote them. All right, so I like to retain that kind of ordering. So yeah, but that's something that, depending on how many places I have left, that could be the entire flight. That could be more than the flight. It's a very consuming activity. Well, or in semi-consuming, but like that's a meaty flight project. As is updating YouTube, Yelp, and LinkedIn profiles / location information. Would I do that here, like while loading up? Would I do that on the flight? Would I do that after? Up next, phone setup. If we're moving internationally, my phone would need to be adjusted. Or do my soulmates have a different phone for me, or that's already set up and I switch over to using that? That would still require me to change my phone setup. Up next, transferring accounts / and canceling memberships. So transferring accounts would be like, when I moved out of California, I had to transfer, we had Xfinity for internet and Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, for gas and electricity. And so I had to transfer those accounts to other people I lived with because I was in charge of those accounts. So do I have anything like that here? Or do I need to be like, I need to update my address for my banks? Also canceling memberships. So when I moved out of California, I had a YMCA membership, so I had to go back and cancel that. Here I have the General Society of Mayflower Descendants. There's a Washington State chapter that I currently have a membership for. Can I either transfer that to the United Kingdom, or do I need to cancel it? And then last, for the during the move part, is scheduled appointments. So if I have a dentist appointment scheduled, or an optical appointment scheduled, or whatever appointment it may or may not be, do I need to call and cancel those appointments? And should I do that when we're loading up? Should I do that on the flight? Should I do that after the flight? Okay, so that's the first set. Second set, scenario, life after the move. I'll go through, so finishing the biographies, if good enough, pursuing turning them into movies. So I have 8 biographies with, like as in people I am a biographer for. So finishing the books I would like to do. That might be my main area of push, is like writing, but that might include Lucky Wallaby Curry or Yelp and biographies. But if they're good enough, meaty enough, turning into the movies, maybe there'll be YouTube productions. That would be cool. YouTube does make like YouTube made movies. like Amazon has Amazon made movies, but only it's YouTube. That would be really cool. Sorry. Okay. Next one is going back to school. So if I do go back to school, an international relations degree, emphasis on the non-America centric perspective would be kind of interesting, and it would be inspired by my dream print publication, Lucky Wallaby Courier, and protecting my biography books after they are written and published in an international market. Because, well, like, let's take Yulia Efimova. If I'm writing and publishing about a Russian swimmer, then writing and publishing is one thing, but like, especially with boycotts and stuff like that, I need to think about where the book is printed and how do I get it to a certain market, right? So if I write and publish something in the United Kingdom, how do I get it to Russia if Russia is being boycotted by the United Kingdom? I'm not saying it is, right? And I have no idea how those future events will play out, but an international relations degree would be so helpful, potentially, in just understanding the relations between different countries and how to go about navigating that in terms of my work output. Okay, running. So that's pursuing running. I'm going to put that with driving. So like running 1 mile runs, seeing if I can get faster, and driving, being tapped as a 10 miles driver. That's stuff that I think focus on my writing and my running gets better. Focus on my writing and my driving gets better. So they're stabilized things that I could pursue potentially, but might be stabilized in a different means, or they become the focal point of my life. I don't know, but I could see them stabilizing with something else. Up next, critters planting trees. So working on documentation and getting them out there, figuring out a system so that the critters can plant trees if they want to, and have documented where and what they planted and that kind, and when and why, and, that kind of stuff. Parents and family visiting. If we do have the means for a private jet, could we bring them out if they want to? What about us visiting them? It'd be cool to have it go both ways, but times change, and so it might go one way, or it might go both ways, or it might go no ways for a while, and we just do like phone calls or video conversations for a while. I don't know. Yeah. Dentist. So that's like, I need to find a dentist. And then library card. So getting into the library system wherever we move. So those are life after the move kind of stuff. All right. Conclusion. And that would, yeah, and YouTube's part of that. I hope anyway. Well, it might be like Nicola, but that's discussed in different videos. So in conclusion, these are just talking through scenarios of moving my belongings internationally and life after the move, and some of the stuff that comes to my mind currently when I think about doing something like that. Happy, be happy. How about it? Happy day. Yeah. And happy time of viewing this whenever you are viewing it.